Welcome to this stories. It feels surreal, like a scene from a film I never wanted to star in. You know the type, where a man returns home unexpectedly, crosses the threshold, and is met with sounds that twist his insides with a mix of dread and longing. Whispers that linger in the shadows. Whispers that reveal, with an aching certainty, that the world he believed in is merely a fragile illusion. That was us. They always speak of the choice to run or to stand and face the storm. Yet, there exists a third path, one that feels icy, one that cuts deep. I held my breath, kept my composure, and swallowed the ache that threatened to spill over. No, I did something only a few men would have the courage to embrace. And in the end, it altered the course of our lives forever. I held her heart in my hands. I won her heart, but at what cost? I flipped the script in an instant, and by the time she understood the shift, the moment had slipped away, leaving only a bittersweet ache in the air. But let's not rush into this too quickly. Let me draw you into the past, to a time before trust was shattered, before everything fell apart. Back to when I still held on to the fragile dream of us. I'm Leonardo. At 36, I believed my life was perfect, until recently when everything shifted. Since I was 19, I've navigated the rugged world of construction, rising from the shadows of a laborer to the heights of a project manager. Effort has never intimidated me. It's woven into my very being. I've always felt that when you pour your heart into something, it can lead to something truly profound. I thought I had crafted my life perfectly, just like my career, but I never realized how fragile my marriage truly was. Kayla is 34 years old. There's an undeniable pull to her, a warmth that wraps around you like a secret, drawing you in closer than you ever intended. She has a way of drawing people in, her laughter echoing in the most unexpected places, at the grocery store, at the gas station, anywhere. It's as if she holds a secret that makes every moment feel electric, yet just out of reach. There was something about her that drew people in, a magnetic pull that felt almost wrong, yet undeniably real. And I was drawn in, just like everyone else. Our paths crossed in the tender chaos of our early 20s. At 24, I found myself drawn to her, a 22-year-old bursting with dreams, just stepping into her role as an elementary school teacher. After a long day of building dreams downtown, my friend pulled me into a bar where the air buzzed with unspoken possibilities. That's where I first caught a glimpse of her, laughter spilling from her lips, her dark brown hair cascading over her shoulders as she shared a story that had everyone around her captivated. I'm not the kind of guy who approaches strangers, but there was an undeniable pull towards her. And so I did. Our connection sparked instantly. She cherished my unwavering presence, the comfort of knowing I was always there. There was something intoxicating about her spirit, a vibrant light that danced in the mundane, making every moment feel like a secret treasure. Our first date came just a week later, and from that instant, we were bound together, unable to resist the pull between us. 3 years later, I took a leap of faith and asked her to be mine. Just a simple evening, the two of us, lost in the intimacy of our favorite steakhouse. Her smile lit up the room, and before I could catch my breath, she whispered yes, sealing a moment that felt both exhilarating and dangerously sweet. 6 months later, we exchanged vows in a quiet ceremony by the shimmering lake, the world around us fading away. Just a few close friends and family, nothing extravagant. As she glided toward me, my heart raced, caught in a moment that felt both perfect and painfully fleeting. I was lost in the beauty of her presence, knowing deep down that this bliss was tinged with an unspoken longing. Our home was a humble two-story, yet it held the weight of our secret dreams. I poured my heart into it for nearly a year, transforming every corner with new floors, fresh paint, and a backyard that whispered secrets of what could be. It was the kind of place that whispered of forever, where dreams of laughter and love danced in the air, and the thought of a future together felt both sweet and impossibly out of reach. Just an ordinary existence. She was the kind of teacher who captured hearts, filling her classroom with festive cheer and leaving little notes of hope on every assignment, igniting a spark of something deeper in the air. Her parents adored her, her colleagues admired her, and I believe she was the most incredible thing that had ever entered my life. My days were consumed by the relentless demands of construction project management, where every hour stretched into the next, filled with challenges that needed to be unraveled. I found a strange thrill in the work, even amidst the chaos it brought. Building something real was a thrill, a secret joy that lingered in my heart. But the sweetest part was the thought of returning to Kayla, the one who made every moment feel like a stolen treasure. She was everything I craved, or at least, that's what I once thought. You never truly notice the moment everything begins to unravel, do you? It's nothing like the movies, where a grand gesture screams for attention. No alarms sounded. No lingering silences. Just tiny, secretive changes. Perhaps it was the subtle shift in her routine, the way she slipped out the door a bit sooner each morning, or how she began arriving home later, casually dismissing it with a simple excuse about long staff meetings. Perhaps it was the way she appeared lost in her own world, the way her laughter would bubble up at something on her phone, only to vanish as she quickly turned the screen away when I approached. I saw the signs, but I dared not ask. Isn't that what trust truly means? To trust in someone, despite the whispers of doubt that linger in the air. In the stillness of our shared evenings, as we nestled on the couch with a book or I lost myself in the garage, I dared not acknowledge the unspoken tension that lingered between us. Because our love was a secret we could never fully embrace. It was inevitable. I loved her, and it felt like a secret we could never share. And I believed she felt the same way. We were never the type to raise our voices in anger. Of course, we clashed, just like everyone else. Perhaps I lost myself too deeply in the garage, pouring my heart into projects that kept me away from the world. Perhaps she longed for a spark of adventure, a touch of passion that felt just out of reach. Yet, no matter the distance or the obstacles, we always gravitated back to one another. Or at least, that's what my heart whispered in the shadows. In the quiet moments of reflection, I can't help but feel that she had decided long before our world shattered. If she had already chosen that what we shared was no longer enough for her. But I was blissfully unaware of it all. In that fleeting moment, happiness wrapped around me like a secret, forbidden thrill. Or at least, I was content enough to ignore the fragile fissures that threatened to pull us apart. Who could bear to think that the life they've crafted, the love they've nurtured, is merely a fragile illusion, ready to crumble at any moment? Not me, please. Only when the moment slipped away did I realize the depth of what we had. That morning began like any other, yet a spark lingered in the air, hinting at something unspoken and thrilling. As dawn broke, I rose at 6, the aroma of coffee wrapping around me like a secret. I lingered on the porch, heart racing, savoring those stolen moments before the world called me away. The air was crisp, tinged with the intoxicating scent of fresh-cut grass from the neighbor's yard, a reminder of moments stolen in the shadows. Kayla lingered in her room, lost in the ritual of choosing her outfit, perhaps reaching for one of those delicate floral dresses or that soft pink sweater that wrapped her in warmth, a subtle armor against the world outside. I set down my cup, the warmth lingering in my hands, and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, a fleeting moment before stepping into the world outside. Her smile lit up the room, a familiar spark that ignited something deep within him. "Have a good day," she whispered, her eyes lingering on him just a moment too long. "Yeah, you as well," I replied, unaware that those words, so innocent and ordinary, would twist into a cruel jest by day's end. At first, everything felt ordinary, but beneath the surface, a spark flickered, hinting at something more. A handful of encounters, tangled in the weight of unspoken feelings, the familiar chaos of time slipping away. But as lunchtime approached, an unsettling feeling crept in. My heart raced, and a sudden wave of dizziness swept over me, leaving me breathless. Perhaps it was the sweltering heat, or maybe it was simply one of those days when your heart yearned for something more, something it knew it shouldn't crave. In any case, my boss saw it all. "You look pale," he said, his eyes flickering with concern as he paused his work. "Leave now, find solace in your dreams. We'll take care of everything here, just stay close to me." I couldn't find the words to protest. I gathered my things, climbed into my truck, and began the brief journey back, my heart heavy with unspoken words. I can still recall the fleeting thought that an afternoon away might be a sweet escape, just for a moment. With Kayla still at work, I could sink into the couch, lost in the quiet, perhaps surrendering to a movie or drifting into a dream, all while the world outside felt just a little too close to what we could never have. Just let go. But the moment I turned into the driveway, an unfamiliar tension hung in the air. There are feelings I can't put into words. The house appeared unchanged, yet it felt heavy with unspoken memories. The blue shutters, the delicate flowers Kayla had lovingly hung by the front door, whispered secrets of a love that felt both beautiful and wrong. The world outside held its breath, wrapped in a fragile silence. But there was this strange, weighty sensation in my chest, like the breath before a secret kiss. I brushed it aside, turned the key, and crossed the threshold. The first thing that struck me was the hum of the air conditioning, yet the house wrapped around me like a warm embrace. It felt suffocating, almost. The kind of heat that ignites when two bodies draw close in a place where warmth feels like a secret, forbidden thrill under the midday sun. Then, as I took a step closer, a whisper reached my ears. A sound echoed from the shadows of the house. Soft, distant, yet undeniably clear. My heart raced, echoing in my ears like a secret longing. I lingered in the doorway, heart racing, desperately hoping it was all just a figment of my imagination. Perhaps Kayla had returned early, lost in a world on the screen, unaware of the unspoken tension lingering in the air. Perhaps the breeze carried whispers from the world beyond, teasing her senses with a hint of something forbidden. Yet, in the depths of my heart, I understood the truth. I slipped through the shadows, my heart racing as the floorboards whispered beneath my boots. The sounds intensified, breathless whispers and soft gasps, the sort that should remain hidden away, igniting a knot in my stomach so tight it stole my breath. I stood before the bedroom door, heart racing, knowing what lay beyond was both thrilling and dangerous. The door was barely ajar, the door stood slightly ajar. I froze, unsure if I was ready for the truth waiting behind it. And there she stood, a vision that stirred something deep within me. She was everything I shouldn't want, yet my heart raced at the mere thought of her. My secret love, never alone. Silence hung heavy between them, a fragile tension that spoke volumes. No explanations needed, nothing left to untangle. The mere glimpse of them sends my heart racing. She was entwined with a stranger, a sight that twisted something deep within me. My heart raced, my hands clenched tightly at my sides. But I held back, stayed silent, didn't let the storm inside me break free like a character in a film would. Instead, a part of me went dark. My fingers trembled as I fished my phone from my pocket, raising it slightly to seize the moment unfolding before me. I turned away, sealing the moment in memory, knowing there was no turning back. With a heavy heart, I turned away, my footsteps echoing down the hall. I pushed open the front door, the cool air brushing against my skin, and let it close softly behind me, sealing away what could never be. I barely closed it. I hesitated on the porch steps, my heart racing with unspoken words. Silence enveloped me, a secret held tight within my heart. I turned and left, my heart heavy with unspoken words. And I never dared to glance behind. I sat in my truck, my fingers digging into the steering wheel, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. My entire being was wound up, a fragile tension poised on the brink of breaking, yearning for release in the most dangerous way. The air in the cab was thick, hot, suffocating, yet I was lost in the moment, oblivious to everything but him. My heart raced, trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, replaying that one forbidden moment endlessly. Kayla, entwined with him in a way that felt both thrilling and wrong. Her face lingered in his mind, a bittersweet memory that ignited a fire within him, yet felt so out of reach. Her hands trembled with a mix of longing and fear. The way she looked at him, with a spark of something unspoken, sent shivers down his spine. Their hands brushed, a fleeting touch that ignited a fire within. In that moment, the world around them faded, leaving only the weight of their unacknowledged feelings. It was a connection that felt both thrilling and dangerous, a secret I bit down, the tension radiating through me like a storm waiting to break. The fury consumed me, a fierce flame that threatened to engulf everything in its path. But it wasn't the kind that stirred wild abandon. Absolutely not. This felt like a chill that pierced the heart. More intense. A part of me burned with fury, but I forced myself to walk away instead for daring to enter my sanctuary. I craved the moment our gazes locked, hoping to catch a glimpse of that forbidden emotion flickering within him. Craved the sound of his desperate pleas. All I craved was for Kayla to meet my gaze, to understand the chaos she had unleashed within me. But that would be too simple, too straightforward. It's painfully clear. Absolutely not. This had to be more clever. It had to be a surprise, something that would catch them off guard. I inhaled sharply, letting the air slip away as I struggled to gather my thoughts. Every part of me ached to reach out, to bridge the distance between us, but I understood the weight of my desires, the danger in surrendering to them. I had to be careful. And then, it struck me like a whisper in the night. My heart raced as I reached for my phone, trying to steady my breath, and made the call I never thought I'd have to make. I shut my eyes for just a heartbeat, trying to find my voice amidst the chaos of my feelings. As I spoke, my words danced on the edge of desire, a delicate balance of longing and hesitation. My heart races as chaos erupts within these walls, a storm of emotions swirling around me, leaving me breathless and terrified. My neighbor's voice trembled as they called, whispering about the haunting screams echoing from my home. I whispered, my voice trembling, filled with an unspoken longing. My wife isn't picking up. It's unsettling, like a secret hanging in the air. I can feel the weight of her struggle. In that moment, urgency filled the air as the dispatcher's voice cut through the silence, probing for my address, searching for any whispers of clarity in the chaos. I revealed just enough to spark their interest, but held back the details that could lead to questions. I spoke with a desperate urgency, my heart racing, as if I were a lover fearing for the one I cherished most. Her voice was a soft whisper, laced with urgency, promising that help was near, yet I felt a thrill of fear and longing intertwine within me. I ended the call, my heart racing, before they could pry any deeper. And then, I lingered in the silence, heart racing with unspoken desires. Each second lingered, heavy with unspoken longing, as if time itself conspired against them. I tapped my fingers nervously on the steering wheel, my gaze fixed on the house, on the window that framed our secret world. I pictured Kayla within those walls, blissfully ignorant that everything was about to shift forever. Moments later, the piercing red and blue lights sliced through the warm afternoon air, a stark reminder of the world that kept them apart. 2 patrol cars arrived, their lights casting a flickering glow on the pavement, a stark reminder of the tension in the air. Doors swung open, revealing 3 officers, their hands poised on holsters, expressions steely and intent, a tension crackling in the air. I leaned back, hidden yet so near, my heart racing as I stole glances. One officer stepped closer to the front door, his knock echoing with an urgency that sent a shiver down her spine. Whispers of danger linger in the air. Let me in. Whispers of longing linger in the air. My heartbeat echoed in the silence, a steady rhythm that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. Another knock echoed through the silence. Whispers of danger linger in the air, a thrill that ignites the heart. We need you to let us in. Nothing yet. Kayla's heart raced, her thoughts tangled in a whirlwind of longing. I stole a glance at the street, my heart racing as I peered at the neighbors' houses. A curtain fluttered in the house across the way, a whisper of something unspoken lingering in the air. Eyes lingered in the shadows, curiosity mingling with a hint of longing, as if the world around us held its breath, caught in a moment that felt both electric and wrong. Perfect. Let them watch. Let them whisper. The lead officer shared a fleeting glance with his partner, a silent understanding passing between them, before he hesitantly reached for his radio. He knocked, heart racing, but silence lingered in the air. There are moments that pull at the heart, where urgency intertwines with desire, and the thrill of the unknown beckons. We're stepping into the unknown. And then, in an instant, everything changed. Thud, the echo of the door shattering, a heart-racing moment of chaos and fear. The kind of sound that sends a shiver through your heart. A sound that transforms a mundane afternoon into an unforgettable memory, lingering in the heart like a secret longing. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could feel the pull of something I shouldn't want. It played in my mind like a secret dream, vivid and aching. The officers burst through the door, guns raised, voices sharp and commanding. Kayla and her lover, hearts racing, lost in a whirlwind of confusion and fear, feeling the weight of their secret world crashing down around them. I could almost see the surprise in her eyes as the truth dawned on her. I could almost feel the icy grip of fear in her lover's eyes as he stood there, overwhelming emotion, confronted by the looming presence of law enforcement. Text. I could almost hear Kayla's breath hitch, her words tumbling out in a flurry, struggling to find the right ones, to make it all clear between us. Yet, no words could bridge the silence. Trapped in a whirlwind of longing, she was ensnared. I leaned back against the headrest, eyes fluttering shut, as the storm of emotions swirled around me, chaotic and intoxicating. And for the first time that day, perhaps for the first time in ages, I felt a spark of power within me. The house transformed from a cozy haven to a whirlwind of turmoil in an instant. The front door hung limply, a broken reminder of the chaos that had unfolded, its splintered edges whispering secrets of a moment too intense to forget. The sounds wrapped around me, a haunting melody of unspoken feelings and hidden desires. Come closer. Fingers trembling, hearts racing, caught in a moment we shouldn't share. The air was thick with tension, a sudden shift that echoed through the room, ending in a weighty silence that felt almost too intimate. He fell, a sudden crash against the earth, the weight of unspoken feelings pressing down on him. Then came the desperate cries, echoing through the air. What on earth? What's happening between us? Stay hidden. Stay right there. Fingers entwined, hearts racing. I hold on. What are we doing? This feels so wrong, yet I can't help but want more. We couldn't. A sharp sound pierced the air. I could see it vividly, the officers pressing him down. The sound of cuffs broke the silence, a sharp reminder of the choices that led us here. Another quiet rustle, a heartbeat caught in the silence. More turmoil. And then there was Kayla's voice. Heart racing, lost in a whirlwind of feelings. What are you doing here? What is this feeling stirring within me? Her words tumbled out in a breathless rush, each one tripping over the next, filled with unspoken longing. Why? Why did you come here? What's going on? Her heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of disbelief. Her heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of confusion and longing. Her voice trembled, a fragile whisper laced with unspoken fear. Please, step away. Please, just stay calm. Serene? You just barged into my life. You threw yourself at him. We shouldn't be doing this. I pictured her heart pounding, desperately searching for words as the officers burst into her sanctuary, shattering the fragile peace of her world. Because to her, it felt like a beautiful mistake. In her heart, she believed she was innocent, untouched by the shadows of guilt. Her lover lay still, fear gripping him, yet his voice trembled in the silence, desperate to reach her. This isn't what it seems. No, you misunderstand. One of the officers looked at her with suspicion, his gaze lingering just a moment too long, as if he could see the secrets hidden beneath her facade. We received a call about a potential incident unfolding at this location. You know just how deep this goes. Kayla's breath caught in her throat. A call. Did someone really call for this? Her voice dropped to a whisper, quivering with unspoken longing. Violation? This isn't what it seems. Everything feels so right, yet so wrong. This can't be happening. You can't possibly know. Yet the officers remained unconvinced by her plea. They had been prepared for everything. Yet here they were, stepping into a world where trust felt like a dangerous game, where every word held a weight that could shatter their fragile connection. One of them whispered again, their voice steady yet laced with an unspoken longing. Please, just try to stay calm. We have a few questions for you. Is that something you can manage? Kayla's heart raced, a storm of emotions swirling within her. She was lost in a whirlwind of confusion, her heart racing as she grappled with the mystery of who had summoned the police. And I could feel the unspoken thoughts swirling between us. She believed it was just a neighbor, but her heart whispered otherwise. Perhaps someone heard the commotion, the door crashing open, and thought the worst was unfolding. Or worse, perhaps she believed it was his wife or girlfriend who had uncovered their secret. Perhaps this was a reckoning, a whisper from the past, a hidden presence lurking in the corners, biding its time to unleash its truth. What she never dared to consider. Us. Her eyes flickered nervously between the officers, heart racing, a wild rhythm echoing in her throat, as if the world around her faded into a blur of danger and longing. She felt a thrill, ignoring the reasons they found themselves in this place. Her heart raced at the thought of his reaction. Her heart raced at the thought of what this could mean for him, for her, for the fragile world they had built in whispers and stolen moments. I sat in my truck, heart racing, as I watched them pull apart, the distance between us growing unbearable. The officers didn't just listen to him, they listened to her as well. They were determined to uncover the truth, no matter how complicated it seemed. They had to uncover the secrets hidden within these walls. And Kayla, heart racing, responded to their questions, her mind swirling with unspoken feelings. She was blissfully unaware, but the truth lingered in the shadows. She had already lost him. Each whisper she uttered, every secret she whispered, it would all return to shadow her heart. Her heart raced as she watched him, bound and broken, being led away from their secret world, the weight of their love hanging heavy in the air. Kayla stood on the porch, her heart racing with a mix of longing and despair as he vanished behind the darkened glass. I couldn't help but wonder what emotions were swirling inside her at that moment. Did fear grip her heart? Did she feel a rush of heat in her cheeks? Did she carry the same heavy shame that had twisted in my stomach just an hour before? My heart raced with uncertainty, but there was one thing I felt deep inside. She remained blissfully unaware of my hidden presence, the secret tether binding us in silence. The house loomed in shadows as I crept into the driveway, a sense of longing tightening in my chest. The porch light flickered softly, its warm glow spilling over the front steps, while the rest of the house lay shrouded in darkness. I lingered in my truck, fingers tight around the steering wheel, my gaze fixed on the house that held the echoes of my years with Kayla. It appeared unchanged from that morning, before the world had shattered around us. The same white shutters, a silent witness to stolen glances and whispered secrets. The familiar wind chimes on the porch, dancing softly in the twilight air. Yet, something deep within had shifted irrevocably. I inhaled sharply, letting the air escape slowly as I pushed the door open and stepped out of the truck. My boots crunched against the gravel as I approached the front door, unlocking it with a heart full of unspoken longing, as if it were just another night, but everything felt different. As if the world had turned a blind eye. The handyman swiftly fixed the broken door, but the lingering tension in the air spoke of unspoken feelings and stolen glances. The moment I crossed the threshold, an undeniable spark ignited within me. The tension hung heavy between them, the air thick with unspoken desires. Kayla stood by the sink, her back to me, a quiet tension hanging in the air between us. She stood there in her gray tank top and sweatpants, but somehow, they felt charged with a new, unspoken tension. Crinkled, complicated. As if time had slipped away, she remained in that same place, her mind wandering through uncharted emotions. She hesitated, her heart racing, before finally turning around. Did she even notice my arrival? Or was she lost in her thoughts, struggling to grasp the weight of what had just unfolded? The clatter of my keys shattered the stillness, a reminder of the tension hanging in the air. She flinched, then spun around, her face drained of color, eyes glistening with unshed tears, lost in a world of their own. In that fleeting moment, silence enveloped us, heavy with unspoken words. I struggled to keep my voice steady. Did you think of me today? Kayla's lips trembled, a silent longing lingering in the air. Her fingers gripped the edge of the sink, a mix of longing and fear coursing through her veins. Her breath caught, a fleeting moment stretching into eternity. Then, in a whisper so soft it brushed against my heart, she spoke. It was a bittersweet moment, a fleeting whisper of what could never be. All right. The word lingered between us, heavy and unspoken, like a secret we both feared to acknowledge. All right. As if the memory of her lover being taken away in handcuffs hadn't haunted her all day. All right. As if she were a ghost, lingering just out of reach, searching my eyes for secrets I dared not reveal. My gaze lingered on her, the air thick with unspoken words, as I held my breath, hoping she would break the stillness. If only she would find a reason to stay. A moment of clarity, a whisper of deceit. She couldn't. She stood there, a fragile tension in the air, her eyes pleading for me to break the silence. I couldn't. I brushed past her, heart racing, and sank into the couch, the air thick with unspoken words. Her gaze lingered on me, a silent plea for understanding, as if she could unravel the secrets hidden in my thoughts. I switched on the TV, pretending it was just another ordinary evening, but my heart knew the truth. As if time stood still, she lingered just beyond my reach, a fleeting shadow that stirred something deep within me. The tension in her shoulders, the subtle shift of her weight, as if she was on the brink of revealing a secret that could change everything. But in the end, she couldn't. Instead, she faced the sink, the sound of running water filling the air as she rinsed out the empty coffee mug, a bittersweet ache lingering in her heart. I lingered on the couch, feigning interest in the news, while my heart raced with unspoken thoughts. I could feel the weight of unspoken secrets between us, leaving me uncertain of what she truly understood. Did she know what I was hiding? Did she believe I had turned her in? Or was she still too overwhelmed, too afraid to see the truth unfold? I couldn't let myself be vulnerable, not now. I sat there, lost in my thoughts, the news anchor's voice fading into the background, a distant hum that couldn't reach the storm inside me. Kayla wandered through the house, her movements languid and lost, as if she were a spirit haunting the spaces filled with memories of what could never be. In the end, she slipped away, the soft click of the bedroom door echoing like a whispered goodbye. I held back, my heart aching as she slipped away. I sat there, heart racing, lost in thoughts of what could be, knowing this was far from finished. Not even close. Sleep eluded me, each moment heavy with unspoken longing. With each blink, the memories flooded back, haunting and beautiful, a bittersweet echo of what could never be. As I crossed the threshold, the muffled sounds from our bedroom wrapped around me, a haunting reminder of what lay behind closed doors. Kayla had played her part so well that morning, her smile a fragile mask hiding the storm beneath, as if everything was perfectly fine. Somewhere in the depths of the night, I must have surrendered to sleep, for I awoke to the gentle caress of morning light spilling through the blinds, a reminder of the world outside that felt just out of reach. My neck throbbed, a reminder of the long hours spent on the couch, lost in thoughts of what should never be. I rose, a flutter of anticipation in my chest, and glanced at my phone. A handful of missed messages from work, and a couple from Garrett, pulling me back into the reality I'm trying to escape. I pressed my palm against my cheek, the weight of my choice heavy in the air. I couldn't bear the thought of spending another night in this house. I tiptoed down the hall, glancing at the bedroom where Kayla lay, lost in dreams, her peaceful face igniting a longing I knew I shouldn't feel. The soft rhythm of her breath whispered through the closed door, a secret I longed to uncover. In that fleeting moment, a part of me questioned if she was lost in a dream. She lay awake all night, heart racing, consumed by the fear of what tomorrow might bring. Perfect. She ought to be. I slipped into the bathroom, the door clicking shut behind me, and turned on the shower, letting the steam envelop me like a secret embrace. Let it wash over me, freeing my thoughts. As I stepped out, my heart raced with anticipation. Kayla stood in the kitchen, cradling a steaming cup of coffee. The moment I entered, her gaze darted to me, a spark igniting in the air between us. "You're up early," she said, her voice carrying a hint of something unspoken. So cautious. "Yes," I answered. I clutched my mug tightly, the warmth seeping into my palms as I savored the rich aroma. With a deep breath, I took a tentative sip, feeling the thrill of what was about to unfold. The first piece of my secret plan was finally in motion. "I have a night shift tonight," I whispered, placing my mug on the counter, a hint of longing in my voice. "I won't be back until tomorrow morning." I gazed at her, my heart racing. There it was, the longing pause. It was fleeting, a spark of something unspoken in her gaze. A lingering tension. Yet, it lingered in the air. "Oh," she whispered, her head barely moving in agreement. "All right." She remained silent, her eyes filled with unspoken longing. I held back, letting the silence linger between us, knowing some things were better left unsaid. Because she felt a rush of forbidden relief. Because she longed for my absence, a bittersweet ache lingering in the air. And in that moment, I understood everything I had been trying to ignore. I stayed away from work that night. Instead, I found myself racing across town to Garrett's place, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He opened the door, clad in worn basketball shorts and a faded t-shirt, his hand brushing over his scruffy jaw, a casual gesture that felt charged with something unspoken. Oh, the ache of it all. The hour is dark, and the world feels heavy with unspoken words. Hey there, how's it going? I crossed the threshold. We need to talk. Garrett's gaze deepened, searching my face for unspoken words. He could see through my facade, sensing the turmoil hidden beneath the surface. He shut the door softly, sealing us in a world of our own. Okay, what's happening between us? I sank into the chair at his kitchen table, breath hitching, and poured my heart out to him. From the instant I crossed the threshold, to the snapshot that captured everything, to the desperate call I made for help, Garrett remained silent as I bared my heart. He leaned back, silent and still, arms crossed, his expression a mystery that tugged at her heart. As I completed my task, his breath caught in a low whistle, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. Oh, my heart. I nodded, my heart racing with unspoken words. He shook his head, a quiet sorrow in his eyes. And she has no idea you reached out for help? No. I whispered, my heart racing. Not just yet. Garrett leaned back in his chair, his fingers grazing his chin, lost in thoughts that felt both complicated. Attraction. Oh, how it stings. Then, after a heavy silence, he whispered the words that would alter our fate forever. You need to tread carefully, my friend. Our eyes locked, a spark igniting in the silence between us. If you go too quickly, he pressed, she's stealing away a piece of your very soul. He was undeniably right. This was more than just turning my back. It was a moment of bittersweet urgency, knowing that when I walked away, I had to carry every piece of us with me. What about Kayla? She was blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to sweep her off her feet. As dawn broke, I rose with a flutter of anticipation in my chest. I skipped the coffee and breakfast, lost in thoughts of him. My thoughts were consumed by something deeper. The dawn was just a whisper as I slipped into the parking lot of the law office. It was a quaint little firm, just a few partners, nothing like those towering giants with their polished marble floors and suits that could buy a small truck. Yet, it was precisely what my heart yearned for. A guy who would finish what he started, no lingering goodbyes. As I stepped into the office, my heart raced. I whispered my name to the receptionist, then sank into one of the unforgiving leather chairs, feeling the weight of unspoken desires in the air. I couldn't bring myself to touch the magazines on the table. My gaze fell to the floor, fingers drumming softly on my knee, lost in a moment of longing. A few moments later, a man in his late 40s appeared in the waiting area, his presence stirring something deep within. He stood tall and lean, his sharp eyes holding secrets of a world he had witnessed, a world that felt just out of reach. He took my hand, a spark igniting between us, and guided me into his office, his eyes lingering on mine as he gestured for me to take a seat across from him. He whispered, sinking into his chair, a spark of something unspoken hanging in the air. How can I help you? Even if it feels a little wrong. At first, I kept my silence. My fingers brushed against the cool surface of my phone as I slid it across the desk, a silent invitation laced with unspoken feelings. He picked it up, his fingers brushing against the screen, and gazed intently at the photo I had captured. His face remained impassive, yet I caught the fleeting tension in his grip on the phone, a silent confession of the storm brewing beneath the surface. At last, he let it go. This is what we needed, he whispered, a hint of longing in his eyes. This alters the course of our lives. I let out a breath, feeling the tension in my shoulders begin to melt away. What do we do now? I dared to ask. He leaned in closer, fingers entwined on the desk, a spark of something unspoken hanging in the air. He paused, a flicker of something unspoken in his eyes. We need to talk, he murmured, the weight of his words hanging between us. We must safeguard your heart and your future. The next few hours felt like a blur, filled with the weight of unspoken desires and the thrill of what could be. The lawyer guided me through the tangled web of our lives, revealing what I deserved, what Kayla might contest, and the crucial steps to shield my heart and soul from her relentless grasp before the ink on the divorce was even dry. It all began with the bank accounts. Since we exchanged vows, everything we shared became a part of us, a delicate bond that felt both beautiful and a little dangerous. At any moment, Kayla could step into the bank, her heart racing, and claim it all for herself. So, I took the plunge first. I moved half of the money into a new account, just for me. It felt like a secret, a small act of independence that stirred something deep inside. Not a penny more than I was permitted, just enough to ensure she wouldn't take everything from me first. Then, we ventured into the world of credit cards, hearts racing with the thrill of the unknown. Are there any cards that belong to me? It's over before it even began. Are there any cards we can share? Stuck in a moment, hearts racing, yet so far apart. Kayla had no idea, not until the moment she reached for them. And by then, everything would have changed forever. Next came the mortgage, a weight that pressed down on their hearts. From the moment we stepped into that house together, I was the one carrying the weight of our dreams, silently paying for the life we built, even as shadows of what we couldn't have lingered between us. The lawyer urged me to take control, to shield Kayla from any burden, as if our connection was a delicate secret waiting to be unraveled. In that moment, he knew he had to protect what was his, even if it meant keeping secrets that could shatter everything they had built together. With each severed bond, the weight of our connection grew heavier, yet more intoxicating. As I stepped out of that office, it wasn't merely a divorce I was facing. It was a quiet promise to carry away every piece of my heart, leaving nothing behind. What? About Kayla? She remained blissfully unaware. That afternoon, I slipped into the bank, my heart racing as I completed the transfers, each moment tinged with a thrill that felt just out of reach. The teller's eyes lingered on me, a flicker of intrigue in her gaze as I signed the last documents. Yet she remained silent, holding back the questions that danced on her lips. It felt like a dream, sitting there, pen in hand, sealing the fate that would tear me away from Kayla forever. We had woven our dreams into a fragile tapestry, or so I believed. Now, I was unraveling everything we had. When it was over, I had carefully hidden my half of the money, created new accounts, and made sure Kayla could never touch a single dollar of mine again. The most thrilling moment? She believed there was still a moment left to grasp. I let Kayla's calls go unanswered that day. She reached out a few times in the morning, her voice light and hopeful, but by evening, the air felt heavy with unspoken words. I sensed a shift, a distance that tugged at my heart. The calls came more often, each one igniting a spark of longing that felt both thrilling and wrong. Then the messages arrived, igniting a spark that felt both thrilling and wrong. I held my breath, silence hanging heavy between us, because deep down, I had always known the truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Kayla's name flashed on my phone screen for the 7th time, each ring echoing a longing I dared not acknowledge. It began with a simple, casual message, just a friendly nudge. But soon, it transformed into a desperate plea. "Leonardo, where are you? Just call me." I lingered at Garrett's kitchen table, the warmth of the coffee in my hands, my heart racing as the phone flickered to life once more. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and thrill, as Garrett leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. She must be. I took another sip, allowing the weight of unspoken words to linger in the air between us. She doesn't know yet. Oh, she senses the tension, I murmured, placing the mug on the table. She remains blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Garrett's breath caught in his throat, a sound of surprise escaping him, laced with an unspoken longing. Oh, my heart. I glanced at my phone once more, heart racing. Another call that went unanswered, leaving a hollow ache in my chest. Another text. In the shadows, Kayla and Leonardo found each other, their hearts racing with a mix of longing and fear. Every stolen glance felt like a secret, every touch a spark that could ignite everything around them. They knew the risks, yet the pull was irresistible, drawing them closer into a world where love felt both thrilling and dangerous. I mean it. Just call me. Her heart raced, a wave of anxiety crashing over her. Perfect. I leaned back in my chair, my heart racing as I stretched my legs out, feeling the thrill of the moment wash over me. I can almost feel the weight of the hours passing, knowing she'll soon pull up outside my workplace. Garrett let out a soft, bittersweet laugh. You ponder. I've always known. Kayla followed the path I knew she would take. When she couldn't reach me by phone, desperation took over. She snatched her keys and raced to my job site, her heart pounding with a mix of urgency and longing. She entered with that practiced mask of serenity, the one she wore when her heart raced, hoping to find me at my desk or lost in conversation with my team. Yet, I was absent. Instead, she received a bewildered glance from one of my coworkers. "Oh, Leonardo," he likely murmured, a shadow of concern crossing his face. He stepped away for a moment, lost in thoughts that felt both thrilling and wrong. He slipped away just as the sun dipped below the horizon. In that instant, Kayla felt her heart plummet, a mix of longing and despair washing over her. She might have stifled a laugh, brushed it aside, perhaps even whispered, "Oh?" Did he whisper where he was headed? Yet, my colleagues would have been left in the dark, because it was a secret I kept close to my heart. Kayla walked away from that job site, her heart heavy with a truth she couldn't ignore. I found myself in a place I never should have been, and I couldn't bring myself to answer her calls. Her heart raced, emotions swirling as she struggled to make sense of it all. Did I uncover the truth? Had I truly walked away? Had I taken that step toward freedom? Had she crossed a line she never meant to? As she drove home, my heart raced, knowing she was waiting for me. She lingered in that house, glancing at her phone every few minutes, her gaze fixed on the window, as if waiting for me to appear at the end of the driveway. Yet, I held back. That's when the true fear took hold. Because now, she understood the truth that lingered in the shadows. I was drawn to her in a way I couldn't explain. And if I truly understood her, I might already be crossing lines I shouldn't dare to cross. Kayla knew. Better. She felt the weight of the unspoken rules between them. She felt the weight of the decision, knowing that taking the first step could shift everything in her favor, yet it tugged at her heart in ways she never expected. If I took the first step, I could shape our story. If I secured the finances first, she'd be left with nothing, and the thought of that twisted my heart. And she knew she couldn't allow that to unfold. She followed the path I knew she would take, a choice laced with unspoken longing. With a heavy heart, she slid into her car, the weight of her decision pressing down on her as she sped away, seeking the counsel of a lawyer. I can't quite recall the details of the meeting, but I can feel the tension lingering in the air. She stepped inside, heart racing, fighting to maintain her composure as she took a seat across from the sleek divorce attorney in the glass-walled office, the weight of unspoken emotions hanging in the air. She could have donned the mask of the worried wife, revealing how her husband had vanished without a trace, silenced his phone, and slipped away without a word. And then, with a trembling heart, she would have dared to ask the question that lingered in the shadows of her thoughts. If my husband is about to file for divorce, how can I safeguard my heart and future? The lawyer would have delivered the usual lecture on timing, emphasizing the urgency of securing assets before I could, urging her to act quickly. And that was the moment she understood the truth. She was already too late. At some moment, that lawyer must have locked eyes with her and asked, "Do you have access to your shared accounts?" And she would have nodded, perhaps even managed a soft, fleeting laugh. "Absolutely. Perfect." They would have whispered, "Before we take another step, let's close the joint accounts and hide your share somewhere safe, away from prying eyes." In that moment, Kayla would have stood up, her heart racing as she shook the lawyer's hand, leaving the office with a flicker of hope still igniting within her. She felt the pull of the bank, a place where she could seize everything she desired, yet a part of her hesitated, caught in the thrill of the forbidden. She hesitated, her heart racing, knowing this moment felt like stepping into the shadows. With a soft smile, she would have reached for her ID, but the weight of unspoken words lingered in the air as she prepared to close the accounts that tied her to him. And that was the moment she might have caught a glimpse of it. The hollow digits gazed at her, echoing a longing she dared not acknowledge. The shared account? Exhausted. Her name etched into something so permanent, yet it felt so wrong. Lost to the shadows. Every fragile promise of security she believed was hers. Lost forever. I was always a heartbeat away from her, caught in a dance we both knew we shouldn't be having. I had already claimed everything, leaving nothing behind. Kayla lingered at the counter, her heart racing, a wave of realization washing over her, leaving her breathless and trembling. She had lost herself in the moment, teetering on the edge of something she knew she shouldn't embrace. She felt the weight of defeat in her heart. The manila envelope slipped onto Kayla's desk, a soft thud echoing in the stillness, carrying secrets that felt both thrilling and dangerous. She gazed at it, her fingers trembling just above the surface, as if the very act of opening it would shatter something precious and unspoken. Inside lay the remnants of a love once cherished, now reduced to cold, unforgiving words, and a whisper of longing. In that fleeting moment, I felt the weight of your absence, a sharp ache in my heart. Her eyes flickered with a mix of surprise and longing as she absorbed the words, a silent battle raging within her heart. As her breath hitched, her hands trembled, and the gravity of every choice she had made pressed down on her. She knew this moment was unlike any other. All I know is that she reached out to me 4 times after receiving those papers, and I let each call slip into silence, my heart racing with the weight of unspoken words. When Kayla took a stand, she unleashed a fierce determination. She craved a piece of it all, the house, our dreams, even the future I had planned. On top of that, she sought alimony, claiming she had been my emotional anchor and had woven her essence into our home in ways that money couldn't measure. I knew it would happen. Her lawyer spun a tale of innocence, casting her as the devoted wife who had stumbled once, igniting a fire of sympathy that felt both tender and wrong. In their story, she was never the one to betray. She was a loyal partner, momentarily adrift in a sea of longing. Yet fate had other plans. In a world where love could shatter with a single betrayal, we found ourselves tangled in a web of desire and regret. It was a love that danced on the edge of what was allowed, and I held the evidence close to my heart. On the day of the trial, Kayla entered the courtroom, her heart racing, every step a mix of determination and vulnerability. Her hair was perfectly styled, and she wore a simple navy blue dress that concealed more than it revealed, hiding the turmoil within. Her lawyer began, weaving a tale of our once happy union, of Kayla's lingering regret, and how she still sought her rightful piece of what we had shared. They whispered of the moments we shared, the quiet sacrifices she made for us. They hoped the judge would see a woman who had merely faltered, not one who had shattered the fragile trust we had woven together. For just a heartbeat, it felt like it could have been real. Then my heart raced as my lawyer stood up. His silence spoke volumes. It was never necessary. He hesitated for a moment before revealing the photo, a fragile piece of their secret world, the one I had stolen that day. And he set it down on the judge's desk, a silent promise lingering in the air. A silence enveloped the courtroom, thick with unspoken tension. Kayla's heart raced as she sat frozen in her seat. The judge leaned forward, captivated by the image, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. Then, with a hesitant breath, he finally met her gaze. "Mrs. Hayes," he whispered, his voice trembling with unspoken longing. "Could this be you?" Kayla's lips trembled, a silent plea hanging in the air between them. Her face drained of color. She felt the weight of inevitability pressing down on her, knowing that words would never be enough to change what was about to unfold. Then arrived the police report from that fateful day, the one that changed everything. The officers had recorded every detail, how they discovered her entwined with another man, how they had taken her statement, how she had admitted it was all by choice. Not for me, not to someone I care about, to the authorities. Her own words, echoing through the room, laid bare for all to witness, a bittersweet confession that felt both liberating and haunting. She had whispered her secret, a betrayal that felt both thrilling and wrong. And in a place where blame lingered, that meant only one thing. She was left with nothing at all. The judge's ruling cut through the air like a knife, leaving hearts shattered and dreams dashed. She stood on the edge of heartbreak, knowing that her choices had sealed her fate, leaving her with nothing but the weight of her own decisions. The judge's decision felt like a bittersweet victory. I held the majority, but Kayla was left with only a whisper of what she had hoped for. The weight of it all lingered in the air, heavy and unspoken. The house was still mine, a bittersweet reminder, along with the remnants of our dreams. Kayla felt a flutter of hope, a whisper of desire for something more than just victory. Instead, she walked away with her heart shattered and her future uncertain. Her gaze was averted as the verdict echoed in the silence between us. There was no need for words. I held back the tears. She sat there, eyes fixed on the desk, as the weight of the moment pressed down on her heart, a bittersweet truth unfolding in silence. In that fleeting moment, I sensed she finally grasped the depth of what we shared. This was more than a divorce. This was the price we paid. And for the first time, she stood before them, heart racing, knowing the weight of what lay between them. Kayla appeared at my door a week after the trial, and my heart raced with a mix of longing and uncertainty. I felt a pang in my chest, but deep down, I knew this moment would come. I always knew she'd find her way back to me. The divorce papers lay between us, cold and final, our lives now divided, our names no longer intertwined. But with Kayla, I sensed this was just the beginning of something we shouldn't pursue. Her knuckles brushed the door, a soft, trembling echo of uncertainty. I could already see her there, hair perfectly done, outfit meticulously picked, striving to be the woman I once adored. I waited, heart racing, before finally pulling the door open to reveal her once more. Her gaze met mine, a fragile plea hidden in the depths of her pale face. "Can we meet in secret?" she whispered. I released a shaky breath, feeling the weight of unspoken words linger in the air. "What do you mean? Is that you, Kayla?" Her hands trembled, a silent storm of longing brewing within her. Our story. We were never meant to be. Never again. But I hesitated, allowing her to cross the threshold of my heart. Not because I craved her words, but because I longed to witness the lengths she'd reached to mend the rift between us. She entered my new world, a space untouched by her presence, and surveyed it with the eyes of someone who didn't belong. As if she were a secret in a world that couldn't understand her. Because she couldn't. She glanced over her shoulder, a spark of something unspoken lingering in the air between us. "I made a mistake," she whispered, her voice trembling. With regret. I lost myself in the moment. I wandered too far, and now I longed to erase it all. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms wrapped tightly around myself, feeling the weight of unspoken desires. "It's impossible." Her eyes sparkled with a mix of longing and fear, yet she pressed on, unable to turn back. "I know," she whispered, "but perhaps we could find a way to begin anew. Make it right." She clung to the hope that somehow, against all odds, they could find their way back to each other. That despite it all, I would still be the one to embrace her, to forgive her, to battle for her heart. She believed she could still control me, even as the tension between us crackled with unspoken desires. Our eyes locked, a silent promise hanging in the air, electric and undeniable. And then I whispered the words that at long last, pierced through the silence between us. "Is that you, Kayla?" I never go back for what I've let slip through my fingers. Whispers of longing linger in the air. Her breath caught in her throat. For the first time, she felt utterly silenced, her heart racing with unspoken words. No false emotions. No carefully chosen words. Just raw feelings spilling over like a secret longing that dares to breathe. Each glance shared is a stolen moment, electric and dangerous, igniting a fire that shouldn't exist. The heart races, caught in a whirlwind of desire and uncertainty, where every heartbeat whispers of what could never be. In the shadows, where the world can't see, the unspoken words linger. The heavy, suffocating truth looms over us. She glanced back, heart racing, before stepping toward the door, each step heavy with unspoken words. She slipped away without a word, and I let her walk away without a glance back. The door clicked shut behind me, sealing away the world we shared. And this time, it remained shut for eternity. In an instant, Kayla's world shattered. Her secret heart, lost forever. It became clear that he craved the excitement of secrecy more than the warmth of a genuine connection. As Kayla's world began to shatter, he vanished into the shadows. What she does for a living. Yearning. They discovered our secret. Perhaps someone's heart ached enough to speak up. Perhaps a colleague caught wind of the whispers. In the end, the administration couldn't allow a woman with such a scandalous past to remain among them. She slipped away silently, leaving a lingering ache in the air. Silence hung in the air, heavy with unspoken words and lingering glances. The moment felt electric, yet forbidden, as if the world outside had faded away, leaving just the two of them in a fragile bubble of longing. No goodbye celebration. Only the silence of an empty classroom and the promise of a job listing lingering in the air, waiting for the next week to unfold. What about her finances? Shattered. She received a mere whisper of what she had hoped for in the divorce, just enough to keep her head above water, but it felt like a bittersweet promise of freedom. But it was never enough to mend what was broken. Starting over felt like a distant dream, slipping through her fingers just when she thought she could grasp it. I learned from a friend that she now lives in a small apartment across town, so distant from the life we once knew together. It was no longer my burden to bear. Me? I found myself in a new space, a place that felt like a secret escape. No shadows linger from what once was. No echoes of her choices lingered. A new beginning, filled with unspoken desires. For the first time in years, I felt a flutter of hope, unguarded and free, as if the world had paused just for us. No room for doubt. There's a comfort here, yet a thrill lingers in the air. Only silence lingers between us. At work, everything seemed to settle back into a familiar rhythm. But beneath the surface, a tension lingered, unspoken and electric. The weight that had pressed on my heart for what felt like an eternity had finally lifted. That's when my heart began to flutter for Carly. She had been in the office for some time, her warmth and smiles a constant presence. Yet there was an unspoken tension that lingered in the air. We had always been just colleagues, but then everything changed in an instant. Perhaps it was the way her words wrapped around me, making me feel valued, as if she truly recognized my existence. Perhaps it was the way her laughter danced through the air, stirring feelings in me that had long been buried. In the beginning, doubt clouded my heart, leaving me uncertain of my readiness. But then a truth washed over me. For the first time in years, I felt a rush of exhilaration, as if the weight of the world had lifted, leaving only the thrill of the moment. And oh, how intoxicating it was. Whisper your feelings below. What emotions flooded Kayla's heart when she discovered the empty bank account? If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing and showing your support with a like.